Summary. To summarize the current state of my team's project, we are in the second of 5 sprints. So far we have most HTML and CSS done, and now currently focusing on JavaScript and database functionalities. As for the current state of my group, we have a good team dynamic where everyone contributes regularly. When conflicts arise, we are able to resolve them with minimal difficulty. We are slightly behind schedule because we missed the requirements of incorporating user authentication, but in general, we do work effectively as a team, although there is still room for improvement in terms of being efficient with our time, as well as ensuring we don't miss any more additional requirements in the future. To improve efficiency with our time, we plan to delegate tasks more rather than doing tasks as a group. And to ensure we don't miss any more requirements, we will pay greater attention to detail and review assignment requirements before submissions moving forward. Context. Our team is developing a web application called Neighborly to help people who are new to the community to improve their sense of belonging by facilitating community involvement in Vancouver. Neighborly encourages people to explore the city by incorporating a game-like format using a quest and point system. Each quest will have a task such as visiting the landmarks around the city, and upon completion, users would accumulate points and level up. So for example, if you click on this, you can accept the quest, and when you complete a quest, you will accumulate points here. While this is an app to help newcomers, it is also open to anyone who wants to develop a connection to the community. My team members are Tatsuya Yoshida and Dalen Smith. We do not have explicitly assigned roles, but generally there is a continuation of responsibility over certain web pages. For example, because I did the user profile page, I was responsible for incorporating users into our database and also adding JavaScript functionality to this page here. Project progress. So far, we have established a solid understanding of our web application concept through a variety of tasks. For example, in the earlier stages of planning and analysis, we conducted a user research survey to gather data, and based on that survey, we have some key findings from the survey where we summarize it here in the Figma board. And then we also developed a persona called Vincent Newman, who is a representation of all of our users. And we also constructed some red roots, which is this here. It basically helps us with determining the core functions of our web application. Later on, we constructed task flows based on the core functions we decided on and made a wire flow prototype on Figma, which you can click and navigate on. So you can go through these pages, go through list view, and so on and so forth. Now we're on the coding phase, and we have so far constructed some HTML pages with some CSS styling and some interactive JavaScript functionality. And this looks like this for the final product. So for Sprint 2, we will have to incorporate user authentication functionality as a group, and individually I will be making a Firestore database for users. So this page here, and as well I will be incorporating a map view page to show where the quests are in the map view. So as an example, it'd be this in a map view. We have not been able to finish the user authentication for our app because we have overlooked the deliverable requirements accidentally. This should have been done before midterms, but because the team was preoccupied studying for midterms during that week, we did not implement this. However, we are on track to get this finished. When trying to get work completed, sometimes we face the challenge of trying to coordinate times to meet up, and also our groups sometimes require waiting for another group member to finish their part before another person can start. To work around the challenge of trying to coordinate a meetup, if it's not possible to meet up in person, I ask my questions through Discord instead. As for needing to wait for another group member to finish their part, I try to focus on work that I can do individually first and provide gentle reminders as the deadline approaches. Group progress. Our group has lots of open communication. Everyone has an abundance of ideas and isn't afraid to contribute. During a typical group session, we book a workroom at a designated time, and one person shares their screen on the big monitor, and we work through issues together. During times outside of school, we have lines of communication on Discord to provide updates. Roles are flexible within the team, and team members fill roles as needed. Tasks are generally assigned based on our individual strengths. Those that have more experience with programming takes up more programming-based back-end tasks, and those that have more interest in design take up more front-end tasks. Generally, though, we do ensure that everyone has a certain degree of exposure to every area. The workload is distributed evenly, with each person being assigned 4 hours of work each week. We take a democratic approach when making decisions. For example, we listen to everyone's input and arrive at a conclusion through consensus to the best of our abilities. To pick the idea for our project, we had an activity where we ranked each idea against a list of considerations. So if we look at the Figma board here, these were the top 3 ideas we ended up with for the app idea, and for these 3, we rated them based on considerations such as importance, intrinsic interest, familiarity within the group, and at the end, based on the final score, we chose the Neighborly app idea. So since everyone on this team has a lot of idea, we generally run into a conflict of ideas about how the app should function and look. For example, we were discussing whether to incorporate the hamburger menu or not, and as an attempt to resolve this, we spent a lot of time on discussion and really struggled to move on. As an attempt to resolve this, we start to acknowledge that choices are not set in stone and are subjective to change at a later date. We will also be delegating more individual tasks so that everyone has non-overlapping roles. Next steps. Our next steps is to incorporate Firebase for this project based on this week's requirements. So this week is the week of October 30th, where we are incorporating Firebase. And based on this course outline, we have 3 more sprints to go, and where we will be including more JavaScript functionalities, and then usability testing on the 12th week, and hosting on the 13th week. Since we are delegating tasks more, there has to be a code style standard to avoid future conflicts and to help with integration. So we agreed as a group to follow a common style guide. For example, we agreed to have snake case naming standards, and another thing that we will start to implement is working on different Git branches to lessen merge conflicts and to ensure that we have smoother workflows. To get assistance on the project, I will be regularly consulting with Hoda, who started a Tech Tips channel as a resource to ask for specific help. As for assistance with the group, so far our group has been very receptive and responsive to each other's needs, so no outside assistance is required yet, but if needed, I may consult with you, Sam, or Hoda for advice. Overall, the project should have all the core requirements done by the due date. There will likely be many non-critical features that will be left out, such as direct messaging within the app. However, part of software development is managing the list of software requirements according to the timeline. With these considerations, we are making good progress, and I believe the project will be completed as I envisioned.